given the name that I was given at birth, I have a particular bias towards St. Matthew, thinking he's such a wonderful example to us. So you may, some of that joy, some of that preferential treatment, you may say, will come through in today's homily. But today it'll be all about the call of Matthew and the Apostle Matthew. So who is St. Matthew? You know, we don't know too much about St. Matthew himself. Now there's obviously some of the staples. He was a disciple, a follower of Jesus, an apostle, one of the 12. One of the 4 Gospels is attributed to Matthew and the disciples that followed Matthew afterwards. But some of the things that maybe we don't know is that Matthew spread the gospel all the way to Ethiopia. He went all the way to Ethiopia to share the good news of the gospel. Also, Matthew is the patron of accountants and customs officers, naturally due to his background as a tax collector. Also, his name, Matthew, it means gift of God, gift of God. And it's such a beautiful phrase when you think about it, gift of God in Aramaic. But what's amazing is that his name was actually Levi before, Levi. And just once he encountered the Lord, he was given a new name, Matthew. Because that mercy that the Lord had towards him, a sinner, a public sinner, tax collectors, again, as we heard in the Gospel, and we probably know through our faith, didn't have a good reputation. They would cheat people all the time on the taxes and take that extra money for themselves. So they were considered horrible tax collectors, or horrible sinners amongst the community. So they weren't well regarded at all. So in a way, the fact that Jesus stopped, pointed at him, and said, "Come, follow me," that showed great mercy. And in a way, that calling out of his selfish lifestyle, his desire to accumulate wealth and greed, these are the things that he would be focused on as a tax collector. Jesus offered him great mercy, and it's that mercy that is the gift of God, really, that he would call him out from that he would choose him to follow him. And when we think of names being changed, this shouldn't be unfamiliar to us. The person who wrote the first reading, the letter to the Ephesians, St. Paul, again, he too had a name change when going from Saul to Paul, once he encountered the Lord on the road to Damascus. So as we see, when you encounter the Lord in a profound way, everything changes, even your very identity, your name changes. And when we think of going way back now to our roots, Abraham, our father in faith to the Jews, Christians, Muslims, he too, when he encountered the Lord, when he encountered God in a very profound way, he was renamed because everything was new. He was Abram. God said, "You will now be Abraham." So this name change is familiar to us, and it's even part of our tradition when you stop and think about it. When we look back at baptism, even confirmation, there is a name given. There is a name given, a new name, to show that there is something different, that now this child, or this person, this adult maybe, is now a follower of Jesus. Everything has changed to their very identity. Now that's a little bit about St. Matthew. But what changes is how you live your life. How you live your life. So he walked away from his tax booth. We don't hear questions like, "Where are we going, Lord?" Like, "Who are you?" Like, "I'm busy right now. I'm at work." He didn't have these questions. "Where am I following you to?" No. He just got up and followed the Lord. What great faith. That faith too is a gift of God. Again, tying to his name, gift of God. That faith in that instant to leave everything, to literally leave money on the table, get up and follow the Lord. So it's how our response is to when we encounter the Lord. Do we say yes? Do we follow the Lord? And that is such an important decision in our lives, to follow the Lord. And as you know, in the beginning of our lives at baptism, often when we're baptized as an infant, it's our parents or godparents that vouch for us and say, "I want this son or daughter, God's son, God's daughter, to be Christian, to know Jesus Christ, to be a follower of Jesus." And then at our confirmation, that's when we say yes. And every day is really saying yes. Yes, I want to continue to follow the Lord. Every time you get up and come to Mass, we're saying, "I want to come and follow the Lord." Jesus sort of puts that call on our hearts. Come follow me. And we get up and we say yes. We say yes. And what a beautiful calling it is. And in our first reading, Paul tells us in his letter to the Ephesians, what a powerful quote. I beg you, he says, I beg you to lead a life worthy of your calling. Meaning, as a beloved son and daughter of God, that once you have been called, the way you live your life should change. Live a life worthy of this calling, of that mercy of God. And so Matthew is just one of many countless examples of people who did turn their life around to follow when they followed the Lord, when they encountered the Lord. And so Paul too is imploring us today in 2016 to continue to live a life worthy of our calling as disciples of Jesus Christ. And he gives us some tips on how to do that. I love that he doesn't just leave us hanging with that. He says, well, you do it by gentleness, by patience, by humility, love for one another. Make every effort for bonds of peace and unity. This is his little recipe in a way of how to live that life worthy of our calling. So today we say yes. We continue to say yes to the Lord and that wonderful invitation to come follow me. And we get up and we say, yes, Lord, here I am. I come to do your will.